Hello, my name is Henry Chamberlain, and I'm doing this recording for EDU 6315 with Dr. Whaley. This is going to be a mock interview after I have read the book Supervision, and then just have some questions that kind of pertain to the book and also pertain to my general philosophies of education. So I'll be going back and forth between what I read in the book and what I believe outside of the book. So my first question up is, what is your definition of instructional supervision? I don't think that's a really lengthy definition. It's the improvement of teaching and learning. We all want to make our teachers better learners. We all want to become better teachers ourselves. And what should be the ultimate purpose of supervision? I'm going to read down here at my notes. I apologize. It's giving the teachers the tools that they need to succeed, recognizing that all the teachers are the same. Teachers need different skill sets. They need different trainings. They need different resources. And so our job is to make sure that they get the resources, the training, the leadership that they need to succeed. What supervisory approach do you think works best for you? The book has a differentiated supervision model. I actually read a scholarly article online. I don't remember who the authors were that was over supervision. That was in some ways clearer than the book. And in the book Supervision, they use the differentiated supervision model, which gives teachers flexibility over their varying degrees of input when you're trying to make change, and flexibility on implementing that final product. The book kind of made it sound like it was more of a conversational piece. And then I kind of went over this article. I understood it a lot better. It's really about the abilities of your teachers, and it's about the urgency of the task that needs to be taken care of. If you have a neophyte, a new teacher, and you are asking them to implement something in the school, a policy in the school that is vital to the success of the school, they're probably not going to get a lot of input in the implementation, and they're probably not going to get a lot of input in the final product. They're just going to have to carry out the task, and that's kind of common sense. You don't give somebody new a big workload and bog them down and set them up for failure. I felt the scholarly article I read really explained that a lot better than the book did. Next question is, explain why you feel that approach works best for you. You always want to give teachers what they need, and you want to give them what they can handle. Bottom line is, you don't treat a 20-year veteran the same way you treat a first-year teacher, because they're all going to have different needs. They're all going to have different skill sets. That's not to say a 20-year veteran won't need some sort of retraining, but generally there's going to be a lot of difference between the two teachers. Next question is, what knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values are possessed by successful supervisors? The book touches on this a little bit. It talks about the importance of knowledge. As soon as you start talking and you don't know exactly what you're talking about, everybody's going to figure it out. Everybody in the room is going to know that you're kind of making it up. So having an understanding of what goes on in that classroom is very, very important before you become a supervisor for that classroom. In addition, a couple of things that weren't in the book that I feel have kind of gotten lost is empathy and authenticity. Authenticity kind of goes in with knowledge. People kind of know when you're faking it. But empathy is something that I think has gotten lost. Went to a training not too long ago, and they were talking about what were the important 21st century skills, these new skills for people who are going to college. And one of the big ones was empathy, because we live in a digital world. I'm doing this report online. It's going to get uploaded onto a server. My professor's going to read it. My doctor's going to read it. And that's how we're communicating. So empathy is easily lost. But when we are dealing in the business world or in the teacher world, in the education world, We have to have empathy for each other, and we have to remember, oh yeah, I remember what it was like to be a teacher in the classroom, or oh man, I do remember that one time my principal got on to me and I felt like the situation was unfair. So being empathetic, being able to put ourselves in our teachers' shoes is very important. Um, what are the most important needs of teachers? Guidance. I think sometimes our teachers work uh, without knowing the whole picture. And I think that's where a lot of mistakes come from. They need to have a very clear path of what is expected of them. That is not to say we need to micromanage what they're doing every minute of the day, but they need to have a very clear understanding of what the final goal is and probably the best way to get there. Along with that would be training. Our teachers always need training. Education is always changing. And I mean, training is so important. And I think from my experience, we don't put enough emphasis on teacher training. We say, okay, it's summer. We expect you to go get 12 hours of training, or I want you to go to the PLC, or I want you to go do content focused training. But that doesn't necessarily give our teachers the skills that they are lacking. And our teachers need to be able to pinpoint what it is that's going to help them grow in the classroom and get the training they need. And then lastly, I think our teachers need opportunities for growth. Stagnation, I think, is a killer. And if our teachers don't see themselves moving to the next level, and they're going to define what that next level is. I'm not saying every teacher is a principal, every teacher is a counselor, but maybe every teacher is a mentor. Every teacher has the ability to take on some portion of the school where they can be successful and where they can shine. What makes for positive relationships between supervisors and teachers? For me, that's empowerment. Right now, my principal, I have a lot of respect for, and every step of the way, he has empowered me to make decisions. He has empowered me to carry out those decisions, and he's empowered me to make mistakes, and given me the opportunity to own up to those mistakes and fix things when I've made errors, because we all make errors. But I think empowering your teachers is very important, and that builds that positive relationship. When they know that you are trusting them with something, then they know that, that's probably the strongest form of positive feedback you can give a teacher. What types of activities should be part of instructional supervision? I felt like this was a little bit of a vague question. I wasn't sure what you were looking for in particular. If we were in an interview right now, I'd ask you to clarify. But I would expect open communication, clearly defined and achievable goals, and a sense of shared responsibility and ownership. What I mean by that is we got to be able to talk about what the activity is. We need to make sure that the goals are achievable. I think a lot of times from the state we are given goals, and man, we're not even sure how we're going to meet those goals. A lot of those have to do with state testing. And then, of course, you never want to feel like you're the only man on a sinking ship. Responsibility has to be shared. Duty has to be shared. So next question, what should be changed regarding the current practice of instructional supervision? And I think that's a case-by-case basis. I think that is where you are currently at. I am an LISD. I am in a very data-driven district, and I have a principal who is very open in communication. He's very empowering. I don't feel like where I'm at there needs to be changes in instructional supervision. Honestly, I've got it good. Next question is, what should be the purpose of education? The purpose of education should be college and career-ready citizens. And part of that I take from, I'm a big proponent of Edld. And Edld is are a big part of being college and career ready. Even in the elementary school, you're having kids looking forward to the future, setting goals. And I think being college and career ready is very important. And I think being a citizen is very important. Taking the ownership of voting and being part of your community. And I think that is the ultimate goal. Who should control the learning environment? I thought this was a really interesting question. There's a lot of ways you could answer that question. The principal, the supervisor, obviously has a big impact as they're coming through, and they are assessing the teacher. They're doing those formative assessments and moving the teacher where they want them to be. The teacher has a huge amount of control over the classroom because they set up the learning environment. They set up the rules, the processes. And then, of course, the kids, when you have 25, 28, 30 kids to a teacher, they also have a lot of control over the learning environment, not only just in sheer numbers, but you have to teach kids where they're at. You're not going to teach college algebra to a fifth grader. You got to teach them where they're at, and maybe they're not on grade level, and that's important. But I wanted to bring up this old theory I haven't heard in a while, and we as teachers have all felt it, and it is this idea of flow. And if you're watching this and you've been in education for 10, 15, 20 years, then you've probably heard of it before. But it's this amazing back and forth where nobody is in control of the classroom. The teacher is engaged with the students are engaged in the teacher. The conversation flows back and forth between the student and the teacher, and everybody is just in this really positive energy. And it really doesn't have a definition that I know of. It's more of an experience. And instead of anybody being in control of the classroom, I feel like you just need to achieve that flow where the information, the ideas are going back and forth, and everybody is learning, including the classroom teacher. Under what conditions is student learning most successful? I'm a big Maslow's hierarchy guy. I believe you always remove barriers to learning. You have to give the students a clear path. They have to know what the end goal is, and then you analyze what the barriers are. Whether it's a physical barrier, whether it's a barrier such as, they lack enough sleep or they lack enough food, or whether it's a behavioral barrier and they're looking for that self-actualization. They're just trying to show off for their peers because they need that love, they need that want. You have to remove all of those barriers, and once you do, your students will be learning. Of course, there is a second component to that. There are barriers such as kids who have special needs, and those also have to be addressed, but I don't really think that is what the question was asking about. So to wrap up, this was my mock interview for the book Supervision for ED 6315, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. Thank you very much.